Welcome in all to Jock Market Power Hour for this week's United States Open Championship. I'm Rick Heyman. That right there, Joe Idoni. And Joe, happy US Open Eve. We are getting started tomorrow.
We are ready to roll. You coming to us live from the Media Center in Los Angeles. I'm in the comforts of home, but excited once again to break it down with you for the final IPO hour for the PGA US Open market this week. It's going to be an exciting one. Things are already hot and heavy there in the IPO, so excited to see what transpires over the next 40 minutes.
Yeah, never has the USGA been infiltrated by a Jock Market Power Hour coming from inside the walls of the Media Center. We are doing things here tonight a little bit bigger. We got a lot to talk about, Joe. Obviously, there's a ton of star power here. There are some promos that are going on with Jock Market. So if there was ever a time to get involved, now would be the time. But I'm obviously very excited for this. You know, we don't get like LA based US Opens or major championships like ever. So this one feels a little bit different. We were kind of talking about it beforehand. Like inside the gates here, it's pretty electric. I'm not sure if the rest of LA cares, but there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, look, I'm so excited for it. I've done as much research as I can imagine on the course this week. The membership at LACC has finally opened the doors to the cameras and the best players in the world. So I'm excited to see this course kind of get its shine and its spotlight. It's been kind of a mythical course in terms of course architecture that many people have been high on for many years. So I'm excited to kind of see what this thing holds. You had mentioned right before we got hot that things are difficult. Things are tough. We expect our typical U.S. Open carnage on a few holes and to see some players get sort of fiery, which is always exciting for this week because it's one of the toughest tests in golf.
Yeah, and I think there are going to be some birdies out here. I think there's also going to be some crooked numbers as well, which makes the Jock Market aspect, the live trading portion of this even more interesting. So if you're tuned in for the first time, this is a little bit different than your standard fantasy game. This is stock market DFS, where right now you can bid on shares of golfers, and depending on the finishing position, there are guaranteed payouts. So if a golfer finishes first, that is $25 per share. If you bought them for $5 a share, then you get $20 of profit per share. I'll give you some examples in a second, but there are 3 different offers going on here tonight, Joe. So let me see if I can add these in here and see what we got. First off, there's this tweet, which, by the way, is from Jock Market just a few hours ago. So essentially, all you have to do is quote tweet this. Go to Jock Market on Twitter, quote tweet this, and tell us who you got out of this group. It's Brooks Koepka, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm. That enters you in a draw for $150. That's number one. So already a crack at $150. There's this going on, a flash sale on the props side of things, which they have taken Brooks Koepka, who is certainly a pretty big favorite to make the cut, and essentially assigned him a 50-50 proposition to make the cut over 36.5 holes played. That says, are you going to make the cut? So that's number 2. And then, Joe, if that wasn't good enough, they are guaranteeing you a risk-free market. So that means they cover all of your losses tonight up to $100. A risk-free first market. If this is your first market, there's never been a better time because you cannot lose up to $100. If that was not good enough, Joe, and you are still trying to get in for the first time, and you use the code POWER, which is a link in the description, promo code, that gets you another $100 deposit bonus. So you could essentially get a $100 deposit bonus guaranteed. You could be in a draw for $150 through a tweet. You could lose in your first market up to $100, get that refunded, and you can have one half of a prop entry with something that's probably like 80% to happen. That is a lot of positives coming out of this market.
Outrageous, man. So you could basically utilize our promo code and parlay it into the risk-free market. If it's your first time joining us, make sure to use that promo code POWER. I just checked on Brooks's odds to make the cut, and it's -600. So they're giving you free money there. They're giving you the free entry into $150. We're going to talk to you about the players that are going to make you money and potentially lose you money in a couple of minutes here on Bullish or Bearish. So we have you absolutely covered. The boys at Jock Market are doing us right for one of the biggest events of the year.
Yeah, that's right. And let's put some examples to this, because we have here's last week's Canadian Open. So we've got the payouts from Nick Taylor at $25 a share. This is what we talked about. So here's a true real life example for you. He was $5.90 last week in IPO, got the $25 per share payout. So you made $19 per share on Nick Taylor. Tommy Fleetwood, who came up short, Joe, $8.95 in IPO last week, $20 per share in the payout. This is not an all or nothing proposition. There are steps, there are stages to the profits, stages to the losses. It's not you lose everything or you get 100 times your buy-in.
Yeah, absolutely. Tommy Fleetwood, Tyrrell Hatton, two guys that I was very high on last week, two guys that I bet, two guys in the outright market that wiped me out and took all my money for finishing second or third. Not in the jock market. You see there respectively. Fleetwood more than doubled your money. Tyrrell Hatton was still able to return you nearly a 65% ROI profit on every dollar that you placed in. So both very good, tangible examples. And then as we see each and every week, some of those guys in that $4 or $5 range, man, you can really clean up on Aaron Rice, CT Pan, Mark Hubbard, Nick Taylor. These guys are which we see the biggest jumps in ROIs, also carry some of the biggest risks to potentially miss the cut, but a great tangible example of the different options that you have out there and different ways to kind of make money in different price ranges.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's start naming some names here. We can discuss LACC and how we think it's going to shape up for these golfers. We do that in a segment we call Bullish or Bearish, in which Joe and I pick four golfers and we decide whether we are, bullish or bearish. Now, we are going to start with one of the bigger stories of the week, as he tends to be. It's Rory McIlroy. His fair value tonight is $8.27 per share. He's going to go for more expensive than that. So let's call it like $9 a share, $9.50. That would be about 13th or 14th for Rory McIlroy. Are you bullish or bearish on Rory this week?
I have, as every hour that has passed this week, I have become more and more bullish on Rory to the point now where I think he's going to win. Last week was an extremely positive sign with the putter, in which he had ranked like 174th or like in the bottom outside of the top 150 on tour this season in terms of putting. He finally got that turned around, and that's ordinarily a strength of his. He also is starting to I saw him work through some kinks, not only at the Memorial, but at the RBC Canadian Open with the driver that had really plagued him at the Wells Fargo, at the Masters, through portions of the PGA Championship. He really seems to have that dialed in. What's left to really shore up for him is the wedges, and I've come around to the fact that I think this is his easiest area to sort of clean up. He's added another wedge to the bag. For some reason, I saw a tweet yesterday where he had an 8-degree gap in his bag that he was carrying from a 46-degree wedge to a 54. He's added an intermediary club in there, which allows him to hit more shots, allows him to get to more yardages. He's going to have a lot of wedges. His U.S. Open run over the last 4 years has been absolutely tremendous. Number one in birdies, number one in strokes gained total, number one in tee to green. He's been really good. He's trending in the right direction. Everything hasn't been clicking recently, but back to back top 10s. This is the week I think he's able to put it all together. This is the week that I think he wins the U.S. Open.
9th, 8th, 7th, 5th in his last 4 U.S. Opens. That's a trend that he would certainly like to continue and improve on his 2022 run. I've spent a good bit following Rory around in practice rounds this week and trying to rub a little run good off on him. You know, he's done a couple of things. Tuesday, he was the first guy out at like 6:45, played by himself. Did something similar this afternoon where he just went out and played by himself, him and Harry, and he eventually it got backed up and he got caught up with Kuchar on like 6 or 7 and joined those guys. But this is kind of a different like preparation than we've seen, and he's struck it well. He's played it well. He's hit all the shots. I think he has 6 figured out, which is that drivable little par 4.
What's he doing there? Is he hitting green side?
5 wood, 5 wood to the right hand side where he'll just try to leave it in the short right. He actually just about 2 hours ago he blasted one way like 40 yards right, and it was still ended up okay. And he was like, "If that's my big miss, like I'm good here." So that's the play for him. I'm with you. I think I take a pretty bullish stance on Rory this evening. Let's go to Brooks. That's your guy, Joe. And I think when you were making that click on Rory, you might have felt a little guilt about not getting this guy, Brooks Koepka. Bullish or bearish on Brooksy?
Yeah, I did feel the guilt. You're 100% right. So a click for Rory in my eyes was also a click not on Brooks, which was hard to stomach. But listen, I've long been a believer in Brooks' sentiment that he laid out maybe 4 or 5 years ago that he's echoed for the last 4 or 5 years. In the midst of all the sometimes bullshit and bravado and nonsense that he will spill onto the mic, he's consistently told you that he loves to play a week or even 2 weeks before a major championship to get him prepped. I think Liv did him and probably the rest of their tour a major disservice by not having an event since May 28th and not giving these guys a chance to prep. I also think that the last 3 weeks have been a bit of a whirlwind, I guess I'll call it, for Brooks.
You think? Okay.
Yeah, so he made the South Florida rounds. He went to Turks and Kepka. He went back to he's been doing his thing. All right, he's been enjoying it, all of which he should. Previously to that, he had made comments in the past before about not loving the typical setups out in California, which I don't like. He's made comments this week about how he doesn't prefer blind shots, and there are several with the elevation out there at LACC. I just think that a first and second in the first two majors is hard to continue. There's got to be some regression at some point, and I think it could come this week. I'm bearish.
Yeah, so am I. And listen, we talk about it all the time. There's a price for everybody here, and there's a price where you just got to let somebody go. And when you only get in the jock market and access to Brooks Koepka, 4 times a year because he plays on Live, I think he's always going to be inflated, especially when you get a situation where he's gone runner up and win in his first 2 majors. So whatever that price ends up being, $9.50, $10 a share. I don't know how high it's going to get, but it could steam pretty high. He's probably always going to be overvalued. The last couple of points that you made, I think, are fair. The blind shots, yes, there's a lot of them. I was telling you before we went hot, I don't know if I love like a really aggressive putter this week, like Brooks Koepka is, which is great. Ricky Fowler, I also worry about these guys that try to like ram it in from 4 feet. I think that could lead to a couple of ugly 3 putts out there. I will say this. So I'm going to take a bearish approach, but I told you, I still have yet to see anybody who hits shots trajectory-wise like Brooks Koepka does. The ball is a rocket ship off of his club, and it keeps climbing. But I worry that it's going to be too expensive. He's going to price me out of this thing.
Yeah, listen, fading Brooks and being bearish on Brooks in a major is quite a take from both of us. We'll see how it works out.
The 13th pre-ranked golfer tonight is Jordan Spieth. He is a fair value of $6.69. That's going to ask him to finish about top 25, maybe a little bit of wiggle room to get him up there to the top 20. I'll start here, Joe, because I usually make you start, and I don't want to make you start every single time. I'll take a bullish approach on Jordan Spieth. I think that, and we've talked about this a lot, LACC is not your traditional like USGA setup. It actually feels more, not like a replica of like an open championship setup. And there's going to be a lot of creativity. The ball's going to be on the ground for a while. And Jordan's been driving it well. He's got all the short game shots. I'm in on Jordan this week.
I love it, man. I'm in as well. I would love to be contrarian, but I can't because I bet Jordan this week. I love him. I think the ball striking has been maybe his best run since like 2018. You see there, Phoenix, Memorial, even the PGA Championship, those are 3 of the best ball striking weeks of his career, to be honest. So he is on a tremendous run with his irons right now. I love the fact that maybe in comparison to some previous U.S. Open setups and like something that we saw potentially at the PGA Championship, I do think there's a little bit more room off the tee to move it. I also like the fact that I do, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but this is like a shot maker's course, and the fact that many of these holes require opposite shots on your approach than they do off the tee. For instance, you need, in many holes, it seems like you need to hit a draw off the tee, but a fade into the hole, and vice versa. A fade off the tee followed by a draw to give you the best option into the hole. He's got all the shots. He's got short game magic. He's scrappy. He's great in U.S. Opens. He likes a little bit of West Coast. He likes when things get gnarly. What worries about him is he can make a very pedestrian shot look very difficult, but he can also make an extremely difficult shot look incredibly easy. I think this is a week he can get it right. I'm bullish.
All right, finally, Tony Finau is our last member of the bullish or bearish game. 682 is his fair value, and he is not even sniffing that at the moment. It's about 24th or better. Are you bullish or bearish on Hunky Tony?
Yeah, I know people love Tony in California, but I'm bearish right now. I don't love what I've seen with the putter. If you rule out his obvious win at the Mexico Open, in which you have it up there, he had a tremendous week with the short game, gaining almost 9 strokes with the short game that week, not only around the green, but putting. Very mediocre the rest of the season. There's been ups, there's been downs, but you see that chart at the top, strokes gained over the last 100 rounds. He's starting to be on a bit of a decline from where his peak was during what I believe was the fall. I think that he's lost in 7 of the last 10 markets. He's one of the, in terms of the higher price guys, one of the lesser in terms of ROI over the last 10 markets that you can get. He's losing you money pretty consistently, and I don't think this is the week he gets it right.
Yeah, I'm pretty torn. Admittedly, I'm not sure I have a super hot take on Tony Finau. I probably lean a bit more bearish than you do. I like the distance. I like that he can kind of cut it loose here. I worry about the putter a lot. I honestly don't know, right? And I don't know if I'll be making an investment in it because I don't really have a take one way or another, unfortunately. But I would lean slightly bullish, but I'm not putting a lot of money in that.
Roger.
If you're just joining us, we are giving away. There's just a ton of money here. So you've got the promo code POWER, which will give you $100 deposit bonus. Go take advantage of that. If you quote tweet this tweet right here from the Jock Market Twitter account, they tweeted out a couple hours ago with who you think out of these 4 is going to have the best week. You don't even have to be right. You're entered to win $150. If you want to play props, there is a flash sale on Brooks Koepka right now to make the cut, which Joe already told us he's minus 600 to do. They're now treating it like it is an even money proposition. And if this is your very first cash market, and you lose, Jock Market will cover you. A first market risk-free up to $100. So there are no excuses not to get involved right now, because if it's your first time, you literally cannot lose. All right, Joe. It's about that time. I'm going to open up the big board. We've got about 26 minutes to go until this IPO closes. I am under the impression, and I'm going to load the prices, that this thing is already very, very hot. And prices are pretty big. I think people are excited about the U.S. Open.
Yeah, there's a ton of action in there already. Pull it up. Let's see what we got. Let's ring the bell.
Right, let's do it. Here we go. So the big board live pricing is as follows. Scotty Scheffler already at $11.07. That is asking Scotty to finish 10th or better. And we've got 26 minutes to go in this IPO. Now, Joe, I will note, he has been at least $10.25 in 4 straight. He has been at least $12 in 3 out of those 4. He has been a winner in each of those 4 markets. So here again, Scotty leads the way, but he has been a money printing machine for his investors.
To give you an idea of what a run he's on, I don't know that I've ever seen a guy have these type of numbers in the Jock Market. In his last 10 markets, his average payout is $16.80 per market. Unbelievable run. He's been putting up historic numbers, essentially tee to green. But the big question mark, and I got it for you, Rick, are we going to see a putter change this week? You've been pretty close on site there. He's talked about it. He's teased this sort of lines with the quotes. Do you think he actually does it?
I've seen him use both. I have no idea. I'm going to lean towards no. And here's the thing, though. I don't care, right? Like, can it get worse? He lost 8.5 strokes putting and he finished 3rd at the Memorial, right? Like, do I care? The guy is printing money. I just, like, you know, what I've seen from Scotty this week, it hasn't been particularly great on the greens. It's practice rounds, whatever. He is lapping guys from tee to green. I mean, he is hitting shots into some of these holes that I have not seen anybody else hit. It is more of the same. I don't have a reason to think he can putt worse. So why not go right? And here's the other thing. So what I like about the Jock Market, Joe, is, you know, a lot of the question this week has been, can I really bet Scotty Scheffler at 6-1? And that's like a really valid question. But here he does. That is just one outcome. Does he win the golf tournament? Does he finish first? This is, okay, he finishes 11th, you lose a little bit, or he finishes 8th, you win a little bit. He finishes 3rd, and you're making money, on every single share. This is probably the better way to get Scotty. Just get him into your portfolio.
Yeah, you make very valid points there. For instance, Scotty at 6-1. You can bet Brooks at double that number, like 12-1. You can bet Rory at like 2.5x that number. Scotty's price in Jock Market is not going to be 2.5x Rory's price. And you have that flexibility there, like you mentioned, where he doesn't have to outright win. You make great points. I assume that he just continues to dominate tee to green. Here's a question. If he loses one stroke putting this week, does he win the U.S. Open?
You'll be standing on the 18th green with silver in hand, thanking everyone for coming out. Yeah.
Right.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'll see you guys at the Open.
Yeah. It's crazy how confident both of us are that losing a stroke putting, yeah, he's going to win.
The evidence is mounting. John Rahm is next. $10.45 per share already for Rombo. He's the second pre-ranked golfer. He has lost you cash in 3 of his last 4 Jock markets. But listen, we've got a major championship, Joe. We've got a California tournament. John Rahm loves it out here. Not Poana Greens, but certainly plenty of good vibes for Rombo.
Yeah, I mean, look at what the man did on the West Coast. Like, let's not forget about this. I'm gonna just for the sake of this, I'm gonna consider the Century West Coast first, American Express first, Farmers 7th, Phoenix 3rd, Genesis 1st. Like, he was on an unbelievable tear. Now, things at the PGA Championship, I was concerned about the shakiness. I was concerned a little bit about his press conference this week, as he seemed to show some frustration and vulnerability on difficult setups, and was pretty honest about that. But I worried about how that could affect him mentally. He seemed to be envious of people like Brooks and their mentality to just kind of want to take on these really difficult courses and not become frustrated with them. That said, he's the second best player in the world. He's seemingly a bit overlooked and overshadowed this week by Scotty, he's by all accounts had a better year than Scotty. I think we could get a nice price on Rahm tonight.
You will not necessarily get a great deal on Brooks Koepka. Still might be worth it. He's $920. That is the most expensive that he has been in the Jock market since that 2021 Palmetto Championship. That was quite some time ago. So Brooks Koepka back into that upper echelon. He is in that $9 range with Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. Joe, this is not how Jock market works. You can go buy shares of both of these guys, but if I made you only invest in either Patrick Cantlay or Xander Schauffele, which route would you go?
So to me in Jock market, it's Patrick Cantlay. I think that he's better set up here. I love the recent strokes gain numbers. I realize the inherent steadiness and all-around style of play that Xander plays. I know that you kind of like Xander this week. So what's sort of your take on being sort of bullish on him and his chances?
Well, I'll admit I bet both of these guys, so I'm pretty bullish on both of them. But you did ask me before you went hot, like who's the one guy, and I said if you just made me have to choose, it would be Xander. And to me, yes, they're both very well rounded. They both are great ball strikers at the moment. I think I trust. When I saw Xander on Monday, it almost, maybe he's just a know-it-all, but like it almost looked like he had been here a lot, and he was giving Sam Burns like all this intel and like where to hit it and where not to hit it, and that was on Monday, and I'm like, have you been here a bunch? I don't know. It was pretty impressive how he was working his way around this place, and the game is already there. I worry about both of these guys. Like if they're in the lead with 6 holes to go, do I trust them? I don't know. Right, they're both looking for their first major championship. So I've bet both of these guys, but I would give the nod to Xander.
Okay, that's very fair. And yeah, I think the fair part about Jock market is if they're in the lead with 6 holes to go, you're making money at $10 per share, whatever you're able to get them at tonight. You're still in a great position here. But yeah, I think both of them closing the door on a major and getting that trophy is a big hurdle for them that they're going to have to clear in other markets that you're not necessarily going to have to tackle here in this app.
Rory at 890, Victor at 882, and then just a handful of guys at the $7 mark: Terrell Hatton, Cam Smith, Jordan Spieth, Max Homa. We talked about a couple of these guys. Joe, is there someone else that we should probably highlight in this range?
I mean, Tyrrell Hatton has been fantastic. His price up there with Spieth and Cam Smith being above them, I think is correct in terms of where he should be. Although, I was looking at his average ROI like over the last 10 markets. I mean, he's printing money. He's 53.4% ROI. He's averaging 11.55 average payout over those 10 markets. He's been in great form. I worry a little bit about the bad breaks that you can get at a US Open here and the situations where it's seemingly random and you're 1 inch from being totally fine, but instead you're totally fucked. How does he handle those situations? We know Tiro can get a little bit, he can show his emotions on there and really wear them on his sleeve. So I worry about that. I, of course, love Cam Smith for many of the same reasons that I love Jordan in terms of the scrappiness, in terms of the short game. He is a better putter than Jordan. In fact, I think he's the best putter in the world. So if he can really get himself honed in tee to green, I think he has great potential to win this tournament. And then Victor, like, tell me about Vic, because everyone was so high on him 2 weeks ago. He's going to win the US Open. He's going to win everything. And then I haven't seen him on really anybody's card this week. And it seemingly that he hasn't gotten a whole lot of oxygen for what a tremendous run that he's on and in great form heading to a place where he should be set up for success.
So yes. So what actually happened with like the oxygen? Remember, like, okay, he wins, and then Monday it's like, oh, Victor the caddy, he's such a good friend, and everybody
Victor.
loves it. All these stories were about to come out. Oh, Victor doing this, he's such a darling, yada yada yada. And then the Tuesday merger news broke, and just like ejected Victor from the storylines. And then I don't know if you've noticed, so he has only played practice rounds here this week, starting at like 2:30 in the afternoon, and like a lot of the media is kind of like they've done all their work. Like he just hasn't been, like no one's been around to like talk to him or like anything like that. So he has avoided like everything this week. Game sharp, game looks good. There's no reason to. I mean, confidence is at an all-time high. This place is a good setup for him. It's weird how little he's been talked about.
Totally. Yeah. Any concerns? So I've heard some people talk about maybe this is a place that doesn't reward his progressions with the short game. Or do you have any of those concerns, like seeing the course firsthand? Or do you think if he strikes it well, tee to green like he always does, he'll be fine?
I think short game stuff's gonna be a disaster for everybody, dude. I just think it's like it's gonna be a little random. It's gonna be very difficult. Yeah, I think everybody's kind of in trouble with that.
Cool.
That's the way I think about it. Let's talk about some new names here. So we got this kind of $6 range. We can kind of open it up a little bit, but like, you get down to our defending champion, Matt Fitzpatrick, 675, Colin Morikawa, who's, I don't even know if it's correct to say he's nursing a back injury. I don't think that's correct. He withdrew at the Memorial with back spasms. I'm not sure that is necessarily a lingering thing. It's just something that he's maybe thinking about or might pop up at any moment. But as we start to go further down this board, where do we start to find value in this middle section?
So I'm probably off Max Homa this week. I'm probably off Fitzpatrick. I'm off Morikawa. I'm considering Justin Rose. The one that I really haven't had any interest in other formats, but I'm sort of circling the waters here in Jock Market is Justin Thomas. The pricing everywhere is just hard to ignore. Is it one of those things where you've just got to plug your nose and say, this isn't the Justin Thomas of a year ago? Or is it one of those things where you have a little bit of openness to it and you say, this guy's a 2-time major champion. He's one of the 10 best players in the world. And I'm going to get him for like $6-7 this week at a US Open.
So you said something a little bit earlier that I think is correct, that you kind of have to have a lot of shots around here, which Justin Thomas has all of the shots, almost, in my opinion, to his detriment. I think that there are a lot of weeks he is trying to hit all of the shots when that is not required. It's just like, dude, just go hit a straight ball or whatever, right? Like, I do think that inherent, like he has this inherent need to shot me. Like he just has to. He just has to hit a sawed off whatever. He just can't hit a normal shot. And I honestly think this is kind of like one of the better spots for him to unleash all of that, which is crazy. So yeah, I think we've gone too far on JT, fantasy wise. Like his salary is like one of the lowest ever, $6.25 in his IPO. I mean, it's not over yet, but he's skewing towards being one of the cheapest he's ever been. So it'll be interesting to see what the rest of the market looks like for JT.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love Tommy Fleetwood. I had him last week. JT and Tommy Fleetwood are not the same player. They cannot be the same price in a major championship. Fleetwood melted at the Canadian Open. JT has stepped up and chased down guys to win major championships. He's done it from the front. He's done it from the back. He has all the tools in the bag. I think he's, to your point, like it's just an infatuation with like Tiger Woods that like makes him want to like hit these highlight reel shots out of every possible window and get it to 2 feet on something where he should probably just play to the meat of the green. Hopefully he takes a little bit of that into this week. I've heard some rumors of maybe possible injury concerns, but all seems to be healthy. I heard Max talk about how he took a bunch of money off the boys and shot like a 62 around here during a practice round. Maybe he can keep it going, but I think this is a positive sign week that we're going to see a little bit of a resurgence from JT. We may get him in the top 10.
We're going to find out what his price is in about 13 minutes. That's all we have left in this IPO. Just 13 minutes. If you're watching live, you can get a $100 deposit bonus using the code POWER. You can get a flash sale on Brooks Koepka on the prop side of things, a minus 600 now being essentially offered as even money if he's going to make the cut. You can quote tweet this tweet from Jock Market and get yourself entered into a draw from 100 for 150 bucks. And if this is your first market ever, you cannot lose up to $100 because it is risk free. It is on Jock Market. They will get you even. You cannot beat that. Looking a little bit further down the board, Joe, I'll admit $5.17 for Patrick Reed. This is a pretty good spot for a guy like Patrick Reed. I think being able to get up and down, being able to kind of mitigate messes and just kind of get out with pars and bogeys is going to be a pretty good skill set this week. And then we've got your guy Denny McCarthy, who's been playing some of the best golf of anybody at 506 right now, which is kind of right in line with where we normally see him go.
Yeah, and he's been turning a profit. My man's been churning it, and he's been doing it. You know, I loved what he said at the end of the memorial, and I wish I had the full quote in front of me, but it was something on the lines of, I enjoy the test of a difficult golf course. This is where I think that I will play my best. This is where I think I'm going to finally break through. This is that, and he's kind of shown that. He was very good at Riv. He was very good at the U.S. Open last year. He's been in contention in some more major tournaments throughout the past year. I think confidence is at an all-time high. We know that he can do it with the short game. You mentioned, like, the importance of putting this week in a U.S. Open on these greens, which by all indications are extremely slopey. They're extremely fast, and they're going to be difficult to avoid three putting for a lot of these guys just because of the magnitude of the size and the speed. You cannot have downhillers yet. He's still the best putter in the world. He almost two putts everything, and he rolls in 4-footers like they're 2-footers to other guys. So I really like Denny this week, and I'm probably going to have some shares of him.
He's cashed in 6 of 7 markets. He's turned to a profit. One thing that I forgot to mention, we were talking before we went hot that there is this I'm going to see what happens, but there's this speculation that they are going to water the greens between the waves, or be water or be actively watering the greens throughout competition. And the thing that I heard around the putting green is that is really bad for the aim point guys, because it is going to, and they're also going to have some greens that are slower and some greens that are faster than others because of like their exposure to the sun and like stuff like that. And that wreaks havoc on the aim point guys who need to know the speed of the greens.
That's interesting. And Denny is not an aim point guy.
Correct. Yes.
He's a feel putter.
The aim point guys are like not happy about the way the greens are going to be maintained this week.
That is interesting insight that I haven't heard yet this week. So yeah, that's great stuff.
I was listening to that conversation. I was like, oh boy, it's a good point though, right? That's one of the variables that they have for the week, or that they have on each hole. All right, so we've got about 10 minutes to go here. I'm gonna let Joe get out of here in a couple and start making his bids and start putting his portfolio in. But let's get to the second page and see if we can find some true value in this board. So I'll sort by price, and we will go to the second page here. So as of right now, this is golfers that are $3.20 and cheaper. I'll point out someone like a Hayden Buckley at 308. I think he's very volatile, but he is kind of just like a skill set guy, right? Like a skill set for this golf course, put him on it and let him run. Is there anybody here? I saw Svensson is well below his own fair value. Dylan Wu is here. Phil Mickelson is here. Is there anybody that catches your attention on this side of things?
There's a couple of them. I'm interested to see like Sergio Garcia this week. I think as an extreme upside as someone who has great hands around the green. I've been watching a good bit of the Live Tour, trying to get some insight into the guys, and he's been quietly turning things around there with some positive finishes. Almost won in Singapore, played pretty well in Tulsa until the final round. Another one that's interesting to me at 214, and I may need to do an update, is Pablo Larrazabal. I don't know if I got that last name right, but pull up some of his recent European Tour stuff. I think he's been very positive. Obviously won the KLM Open, won the Korea Championship. So he's coming in with some positive form there at 214. I think he may go a little bit overlooked this week. How about this one, Rick? 244 West Coast Major Championship. Any interest in Phil Mickelson at all?
If like I've been like teasing this idea that like Phil Mickelson wins, and then as we're on the 18th green, like everyone stops talking and says, "Oh, actually, Rick, this is all one big act for you, right?" And like have you seen Jury Duty, where like the guy's the only guy who doesn't know?
The only one who does.
Like that's what I feel like this whole thing's a script or whatever. Like that's what I've been kind of teasing this week. I do not see a path. I saw Phil on the range, and listen, I said that at the Masters too, but maybe he summoned something at Augusta National. Yes, there is creativity around this place. I do not like to take a lot from range sessions because you have no idea what these golfers are doing, but it did not look like he had his stuff figured out. Phil will not be with my portfolio this week. I'll tell you that for free.
Got it.
All right, I'm actually going to probably get you out of here, Joe. So it's a big market. I want to make sure you have plenty of time. It's 8:53 p.m. Eastern time. You go do your thing. We'll circle back here in a couple of minutes, and we will recap this market together.
You got it.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. So here we go. So Joe is going to go put his bids in. He's going to try to steal golfers from you. You're going to try to steal golfers from him. So there's 7 minutes to go, which is plenty of time, but also not a lot of time at all. And when this IPO closes, doesn't mean the market's over. It just means that live trading begins. And I'll take you the rest of the way here. So Scotty Scheffler already over $12. He just hit at $12.01. So now the third time in the last 4 weeks that he's gotten over $12, he's returned you a profit in 4 straight. A high IPO for Scotty has not necessarily meant that he cannot turn you a profit, because he has done nothing but turn you a profit. John Rahm right behind at 1045. John Rahm used to be the king of the jock market in terms of pricing. Now he has been a loser in 3 out of his last 4 markets. He is at 1045. That is essentially implying that he needs to finish 10th or better. So if you think John Rahm can finish 10th or better, you are a buyer at 1045. If you think that's crazy, you think he's going to miss the cut, you could in theory short John Rahm right now. I'm not sure that's the greatest idea, but you could do it if you want. Brooks Koepka, 980, fresh off his PGA Championship. Now, remember, he's only got those 2 cash markets in the jock market. So it's a huge ROI at the PGA Championship, a huge ROI at the Masters. And this is the most expensive he's been in 2 years. Xander comes in and leads the way in the $9 range. It's Xander, Rory McIlroy, and Patrick Cantlay. Those numbers, those ranks next to their names, that's the pre-rank. That's important. That's how we decide ties here in the jock market. So if you're number 1, Scotty Scheffler, and you're tied with 19 guys for second, you get the full second place per share payout. That is how it works. So the better, the higher, or the, lower the pre-rank, the better for your golfers. There's kind of a gap here. So you go Rory, Cantlay, Victor, then a gap of $1.30 down to Jordan Spieth. Jordan at 762 hasn't been this expensive often, but he got there in Texas, no surprise. But otherwise, he has not necessarily been this expensive. $7.62 implies he's going to finish about top 20. So if you think Jay Spieth can get inside the top 20, might be a good buy at his current IPO, $7.62. Might want to throw a bid in on that. About 5 minutes to go here. I'm going to flip this around. We're going to look at the pre-ranks and see if there's any value lurking out there. And we will see that the cheapest top 10 golfer that you can get right now, Justin Thomas, twice a major champion, $6.54 below his fair value, 60 cents below his fair value. That is asking Justin Thomas to finish top 25 in this US Open. If he does that at that price, you will return a profit. Next cheapest you can get, Cam Smith, $7.50, and that's pretty pretty big gap. So the top 7 are all pretty expensive. Then you get Cam Smith at 750, Terrell Hatton at 763, and then that Justin Thomas at 650. If we go down a little bit further, you can start to get a little bit more value just in terms of what their IPO is on guys like Victor Perez and Justin Suh and Taylor Montgomery, guys that are not really sniffing their fair value as of yet. Same goes for Matt Kuchar. Same goes for Adam Svensson. Let me see if I can refresh this thing. We've got about 4 minutes to go. I'll give you the updated look, and I'll share my screen with you this time so that we can actually see what these numbers look like, because the train is not stopping on Scotty Scheffler. 12.21 for Scotty right now. 12.21. He is now over his price to Memorial and doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. John Rahm, 10.45. Any movement? Yeah, here we go. A little bit of movement on Rory McIlroy. Rory is now up to 9.59. He's the 4th most expensive golfer. He is the 6th free-ranked golfer. He's over $1 more than his fair value right now. Rory's been a winner in 2 out of 3, but I think there's always a lot of differing expectations for Rory and opinions when it comes to a major championship. Here's Colin Morikawa. There was a question about Colin's back. He doesn't seem to be laboring. He's just kind of protecting it by putting the tee in differently. He's the 19th pre-ranked golfer. It's kind of a crappy pre-rank, I'll be honest with you. $7.07 for the 2-time major champion who has been a loser in 4 out of his last 5 markets, and his 1 win was only a small 3% victory. Let's refresh this again. Closing in here in the final minute or 2 of this IPO. We've got promo code POWER. We've got a lot of things we can give out. I'll go back and read them off to you at the end of the show, but this is one of the most biggest markets probably we've ever had here. And you'll see, here comes that movement. There's like 6 or 7 guys that are separating themselves from the rest of the field. Scheffler, Rahm, Koepka, Rory, Xander, Cantlay, Victor. Massive gap to everybody else. Jordan Spieth is the best of the rest, 772 with Terrell Hatton right behind. Just saw a big move on Sungjae Im, now up to $6.11. He is still underneath his fair value. He's been a loser in 3 straight. Bryson DeChambeau played well at the PGA Championship, got you 300% ROI. He's checking in at $5.24 right now. And then we've got just a gaggle of golfers sub $4 that might be worth an investment. You want to get back in on Sam Stevens? He's at $3.52. You want to get back in on Victor Perez? He's at $3.56. I'm going to try to refresh this because we've got less than a minute to go. This closes randomly.
You're closed.
Okay, there you go.
Early
Random
bird.
is right now closed. That was early.
Yeah.
Did you get stuck? Did you get stuck holding something?
I'll be honest. I was trying to get in on Victor as things closed out. He was just over $9 a share. I thought it was a good price as I got outbid on Spieth, but I still was able to pull 10 guys into the holdings.
Okay, well, I'm waiting for my board to refresh here so that I have the final numbers. While I wait for that, why don't you let us know who ends up in your portfolio for the 123rd United States Open Championship?
You got it, man. Scott Scheffler,
Wow.
12.21 per share. It sounds like a lot, but I don't really think it is. He's averaging 16.80 a payout. I think if he doesn't win, he's going to top 5. I feel pretty good about that. Rory, I can't bet Rory and talk about him to the whole start of the episode and not put in at 9.59. Moving down, I got Cam Smith at $7.77 per share. In the $6 range, that would be Justin Thomas, the lowest priced guy in the top 10 in terms of pre-rank at $6.72. And then Dustin Johnson, we didn't really talk about DJ, but a great West Coast record for DJ. Form has been shaky, obviously won over there in Tulsa, but we'll see if he can bring anything to the table this week. Denny at 534, you knew he was going to be there. And then I have 4 guys I guess I would consider in sort of the penny stock range. Harris English, who has really been solid in jock market lately. Cameron Davis, Pablo Larrazabal, who I mentioned. And then we get him in the market this week. We asked for him last week. The boys put him in the market this week. Give me a little Sam Bennett at $2.80 per share.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so that is Pablo, Bennett, Davis, English, McCarthy, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Cam Smith, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler for Joe and his portfolio. That is that's like the biggest portfolio I've ever seen you have, Joe.
Yeah, 10 guys. That's a lot. And like I mentioned, I was outbid on Spieth late. I tried to transfer that over to Hovland shares, but I was out there. Love to see who you guys got as well. Best of luck to everyone this week.
Now I'm running through them here in the chat right now, seeing a little bit of Denny, Rory, JT action for Brett. That's cool to see. Eddie got a little bit cheaper. He also got Bennett as well. The kid's good. The kid, I wish he was more. He's not like a data guy, so like I can't be friends with him. But he's like he's very good. I like the way he plays.
So he's anti-data?
I don't think he's anti-data. I just think he's more like feel. But like a young guy coming out of college who's like not a data guy, not for me, buddy.
Yeah. What are you doing not embracing data at this point? You know it's the answer.
Yeah, get lost, nerd. All right. So here's the final pricing. We covered a couple of these. Scotty Scheffler 1221, no surprise there. That is basically in line with where he's been going and well below what his payouts have been. John Rahm 1045. Fine. No problem there. And then this $9 range, Joe. Actually, I guess I should sort by $9. Koepka, Rory, Xander, Cantlay, Hovland. Can't really argue with the order here. I think that's all pretty fair.
I do too. Surprised that nobody else eclipsed $10, to be honest. I thought Brooks would. I was willing to go up to 10 on Rory. That's where I had my bid at. I probably, looking at this now, feel like Cantlay was a good value at 935, given where he is priced on the majority of odds boards this week. But I can't argue any of those guys in the $9 range aren't positive plays.
I think I love JT at 672.
Yeah, me too.
I think I love that. Yeah, that's pretty. That is the cheapest he. I mean, see, so we talk about buying high, buying low. That is the cheapest on Justin Thomas. Maybe. Yeah, ever.
Ever?
Ever.
Wow. All right. Yeah, I'm really good with that then.
I mean, I'm just scanning through, but yeah, ever. He was 689 a couple years ago. Yeah, ever. 672. Sick. Awesome. There's a question here, and this is a good question because there's probably a lot of first timers. It says, so can you still buy guys at these prices now? So, Joe, describe what happens. We have now switched to live trading, and that will run until the tournament is over. Like, this is just part one. The in-game stuff is happening right now.
Yeah, the in-game stuff is happening right now, Bhale. So if you go to your app and you'll go over to the players tab, you will see that each player has what is essentially an ask price. So if you want to get in on that player, you're willing to bid up to that ask price. So for instance, Victor Hovland right now, the ask is $9.53. You can put in a bid and an ask for as many shares that you want. That is what someone is willing to sell you their shares for, is $9.53. There are also the featured trades, which we highlighted a couple of weeks ago. So right now there's a featured trade on Brooks Koepka to short him, actually, up to 20 shares. And there's a featured trade to buy on Rory McIlroy right now for up to 20 shares. So they have those available in the market as well. You can also play the pick 'em at, but as this tournament continues to go on, it doesn't just stop here tonight, as these are all available to continue to add players throughout the tournament. We talked a little bit about maybe things playing potentially a little harder in the afternoons, which could be interesting to look forward to. I'm kind of looking at that from a pick'em standpoint and a lot of the round one scores. Like I noticed Justin Thomas, who goes out really early tomorrow, which we both, it seems, kind of like, is an over under 71. He goes out first thing in the morning, which I think will be the easiest playing conditions that we get tomorrow. So potentially pairing someone like him with obviously the Brooks free money might be a good move.
Yeah, so here's an example. Justin Thomas just IPO'd at 672, which is asking him to finish about 23rd or better. There's an ask on him right now at 776, which is 19th or better. If you wanted to get shares, you could. Now, Joe mentioned those featured trades because those are like guaranteed amounts of shares at a price. You can just buy, boom, get a block of them, not have to worry about how many are actually out there and available. So it's been a really nice feature they added in the last couple of weeks that makes it a lot easier to identify what is actually available as a chunk that you can get, which I love.
Absolutely. A lot of featured shorts right now. Bryson, Patrick Reed, Brooks, I'm noticing. So it's basically a one-click easy button if you want to grab a bunch of action.
Jack says, how does the risk-free work now? Well, if this is your first market and you lose up to $100, Jock Market just makes you even. They just, I'm sure there's just a script that they say, how many markets has this person played? One. How much did they lose? Credit up to $100, probably something just like that. So it's very simple. It works just like that. So if it's your first market, you can get involved there. If it's your first market and you haven't deposited yet, use the code POWER. That'll give you a $100 deposit bonus. This is that flash sale that Joe referenced, which is a minus 600 wager on Brooks Koepka going at essentially even money right now that he is going to make the cut. And then finally, if you just quote tweet this tweet on Jock Market at Jock Market on Twitter, you can enter a draw for $150. Very simple stuff to get involved in a lot of different ways. Joe, in about 12 and a half hours, the US Open is going to start.
Yeah, man. I'm kind of like, I'm so used to waking up early in the morning and like sweating this. And I'm going to have to, I'm on the East Coast over here. I'm going to have to stick around until like 10, 11 a.m. to get this thing started. But that doesn't curb the excitement whatsoever. Excited to see how the Jock Market plays out. I'll try to tweet out any moves that I make. Let's go, baby. Let's get LACC in a little limelight.
Follow Joe on Twitter at TorPicks. You can find me at RickRunGood. We have another Power Hour next week for the Travelers Championship, but for the next 4 days, it's all things US Open. Good luck.